on various boards, including Capital One Group, the marketing agency, the Innovation Village, and is currently the chair of the chairman board of advisors of ISEC Uganda. Anthony also happens to be a member of the League of East African Directors. League of East African Directors is very close to Daybreak. A number of our senior colleagues in the club are some of them are founders and some are members to the same league. Mr. Chituka holds a Bachelor of Statistics and Applied Economics from Makerere University, having graduated at the top of his class in 1998. He was also the best Ugandan SSA student in December 2001, and currently is a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. Anthony holds an MBA with merit in oil and gas from Middlesex University, London. He has also completed several management and leadership programs that make him an alumni of leading business schools, such as INSEAD in France, Strasbourg, Lagos, the Gordon Institute of Business Studies in South Africa, and the Harvard Business School. Anthony resides in Kampala, Uganda, and is an avid golfer. Anthony is married with 3 lovely children. Mr. President, I introduce Anthony Chituka. Thank you and most welcome, Mr. Chituka. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our PE, for unleashing our guest speaker this morning, Mr. Anthony Chituka. It is now my pleasure to turn this audience to you for your presentation. You're very welcome.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, PD, for that lengthy introduction. When you listen to people talking about you and what you think you have done, you realize you are what somebody calls a speck on a speck. PE Mugera, thank you very much for that as well. And the Rotary family of Kampala Daybreak, thank you very much for inviting me. As has been introduced, Anthony Chituka is my name. I won't spend a lot of time on that. I have 20 minutes to present, and then I'll take questions. So let me begin by saying that when James Onyoin invited me to speak, I told him I want to talk about something that I know very well. And that topic was feminism. And I fought very hard to say I want to talk about feminism. But James told me that I should be relevant to the times and to the environment. So he asked me to speak about financial prudence in today's environment, because as you have heard, I've been a banker for the last 14 to 15 years. And he mentioned that finances at this time, or financial prudence at this time, is what the club wants to talk about or hear about or question. So as a good human being, I comfortably obliged. There's no structure really to this presentation or to this talk. It's just a chat in my view. And I would appreciate people putting comments in the chat group if I do ask a few questions, because there'll be a few questions. To kind of start it off, you have to ask yourself, people ask about finances and financial prudence, and I begin with financial decisions. Life is a series of financial decisions. Every single moment of your life, you are making a financial decision. When you wake up in the morning, I saw my friend Peter Odoki. Maybe you can shout out. What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? Rotarian Peter Odoki. Or anybody. The first thing you do, the very first thing you do when you wake up in the morning.
Anthony, I'm working, but one of the first things I do in the morning is get ready for my morning walk.
Okay, but I'll say the
first thing I do in the morning is get ready for my morning walk.
Perfect, but what time is that? Usually, what time is that?
5:45.
Okay, Peter, the first thing you do when you wake up is to open your eyes, but and then you switch on your light, and then you get up and either check your phone, then you go to the bathroom. Probably, if you have bladder control, you use the bathroom. You brush your teeth or you wash your face. Then you put on your clothes. Then you get up and go for your walk. In that time, you have made almost 100 financial decisions. Let me tell you how. When you put on your light, you're paying somebody. Umeme. When you check your phone to check whether Rotarian Irene Katende sent you a message, you're going to pay somebody. You're paying MTN or Airtel or Africell or UTL. When you go to the bathroom and you flush your toilet, you're paying National Water. When you pick up your toothbrush and brush your teeth, you're paying Capital Shoppers or you're paying the ShopRite. When you put on your clothes, you're paying Winner Classic or Owino Classic. All those are financial decisions. When you enter your car and turn the key, you're paying Vivo or you're paying Total. When you leave your house and lock the gate, you're paying your askari, you're paying your landlord, you're paying all those are financial decisions. Hence the question, when you make these financial decisions, what are you thinking about? So people tell me as a banker, bankers are about lending money and taking people's properties and high bank charges. But finance and financial prudence or financial decisions are about emotions. They are about emotions. They are about ego. And you have to ask yourself, what is your relationship with those things? Finally, financial prudence is about your relationship with time. What is your relationship with time? At this point, I'll quote my friend Vusi Tembakwaya, who says, time, ask yourself, that the Greeks have two words for time. One of those words is chronos. Chronos is, in their own saying or their own thinking, what is the time right now? What is the time right now? Salmika. That is chronos. And that's why you see chronometer, that's a watch. Chronos. What is the time right now? The other aspect of time for the Greeks is kairos. Kairos. Is the right time now? That is about, is it the right opportunity? Is it the right time now? The first one is, what is the time right now? It is 7:15 according to my chronometer. Kairos is the time right now. Is the opportunity correct now? So in making financial decisions, you ask yourself, what is important now? You must look at financial decisions or financial prudence from what is important right now, from the Kairos perspective. Because that will drive your emotions at the moment, your ego at the moment will drive that. Now, I could spend time unleashing all the banking abbreviations. I've realized that only people with more abbreviations in organizations is Rotary. Banks, we think we have very many abbreviations, NPL, PAR, COP, all those different things, APR. But I've noticed in the first 30 minutes of the presentation, or I was listening to you guys when you were speaking, I saw a million abbreviations. And I was like, okay, I won't talk about banking abbreviations. I won't talk about banking per se. Because for people to be financially prudent, I must first address them from a perspective of their relationship with time, their relationship with their emotions, their relationships with their egos. and what is important in those moments, in that kairos, what is important at that time. So prudence, therefore, relates to how you make money, how you save money, how you invest money, and how you spend money. How you make, how you save, how you invest, and how you spend. I won't give you answers to what to invest in today. I won't give you answers into what to save, where to save, or how to save, because everybody, I think, when I'm looking at the list of people, everybody is at different status, but what brings you all together from what I can see? Your desire to make the world a better place. I listen to the 4-way test. Your desire to do what is fair, what is true, what will build goodwill, what will be beneficial. And that is where, when I accepted to do the talk, I was like, okay, how can I help in any sense or form? So I came to a few things for you to think about, just to think about. In terms of time, how you view time in the kairos element, I think you should look at it, and this is again Busi Makwayo's words, through 4 lenses. And the 4 lenses are the lens of hindsight. When you think about your past financial decisions, in hindsight, do they make sense? Does it make sense to have 10 Mercedes Benzes, 20 houses, 500 square miles of land? My boss in Kenya, James Mwangi, calls that primitive accumulation of wealth. Because in hindsight, you realize however much money you have, you can only sleep in one bed. You can only, if you're a man, you can only wear one suit or one pair of clothes, maybe 2 a day. If you're a lady, maybe a few more. In terms of things you can own or achieve, and COVID has taught us that. In hindsight, some of the financial decisions we've made, what were we thinking about? What was our ego telling us? What was our emotion telling us? The second lens is the lens of insight. I am in the moment. I am in the present. What are my thoughts? What do I need to make this decision now? Somebody said to invest and to secure the future, you must invest heavily in the present. So what are my insights now? What do I see around me now? The third lens through which you should view your time and decisions is the lens of intuition. Intuition. You are going to guess, have a gut feel. You're going to have advice from a friend. You're going to have an epiphany. You read something, watch a movie, listen to music, hear a word, hear a sound, and that will spark an emotion or a thought which might lead to a financial decision. So are you looking at it through intuition as well? Lastly, the lens of foresight, trying to predict the future. Now, what this environment has taught us is that predicting the future is not as easy as we thought. But when you think about it, go to the lens of hindsight, because that's what Equity Bank did. When just talk about Equity Bank a bit, we went to the lens of hindsight and said, guys, these plagues or these world events, the bank went as far as the bubonic plague, the Spanish flu, World War I, World War II, the oil crisis of the late 1970s, the Great Depression, 1930s and 40s, the World Wars, the oil crisis, the crisis of 2008, 9. We even looked at the terrorist bombings in 2001 and in Uganda in 2010, just to try and see what did that tell us about what's going to happen going forward. And one thing we saw is that using that lens of hindsight, we could probably tell that there's going to be a second wave and a third wave. You can probably tell that some industries will never come back. Some things will never be the same. You could also probably tell that some new industries or some new processes are going to begin. And that is what we call the new abnormal, aka the normal. So in making your financial decisions, what do you look at in the past, in the present, in using your gut to try and see the future and therefore decide how you're going to spend in the future? Does it make sense to invest what we're investing right now? Where are you in the cycle? And there's a cycle in terms of the environment. Are you in the survive phase? There are three phases we look at. Are you in the survive phase? I am trying to survive this environment or this pandemic. Are you in the recover phase? As in, I have made it through the worst. And I had someone talk about emotional recovery and people who have been affected by COVID and made it through. We condole with those who have lost loved ones or who have been sick and come out, and we celebrate with those who have come out. So are you in the recovery phase? Or are you in the thrive phase? Are you the kind of person who is making money, and I mean clean money, during COVID or during this environment of sorts? If in the survive phase, do you have a meantime plan? What is your meantime plan? Because again, I meet customers every day and they ask me the same question. Where should I invest? What should I do? And I tell people right now, cash is king. Cash is king. It's not time for you to start trying to self-actualize. It's time to survive. Don't try and be Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson and go to space. You're not there.
I am Dr. Kaseni attending.
You are not there. You are not in that space.
Dr. Kaseni, President, Kampala, please.
Okay. Do you have a meantime plan? What is your plan? From a banker's perspective, right now, build cash flows. Build cash reserves. Build cash reserves. That means save. That means save. Because today, 600 million shillings is equal to 1 billion shillings in terms of utility. If you want to buy a property, if you have excess properties, sell some of them. If you have excess cars, sell some of them, because right now those cars can't even get stickers. If a lockdown is extended, your car just stays there. The value is in there. You need cash, because in 3-4 months, having cash will be king. Money is made when there's blood on the streets. Money is made when there's blood on the streets. The richest guys, the Rockefellers, the Trumps, all these people made money during recessions. They made money during slumps because they had cash. So financial prudence 101 means bring cash. I see a hand from Adrian. I think there'll be questions in 5 minutes, because I think I have 5 more minutes. There's no silver bullet, to be honest. There's no cookie cutter solution. But I always tell people, build cash. Have cash. But when opportunity comes, having cash will be what makes a difference. If you start selling when everybody is selling, the pricing won't work for you. Another thing I keep telling you, if you're in the survive phase, if you're in the recovery phase, you have built some cash reserves, you are seeing opportunities. Now, people ask me, where do I invest? Who are the winners and losers in this environment? Obviously, currently the losers are people who are struggling, the schools, hotels are struggling. Some churches are struggling. Actually, I realized churches are not struggling. I back very many churches, and they are telling me their membership has gone up because now they have gone online. Their costs have gone down. People are contributing because when in doubt, or when the world is going crazy, people turn to a higher being. And they feel that to buy their place on earth, they must give. I was very surprised when some of my clients, actually, they're the ones who are building cash reserves. The ones who have money. I'm seeing, and I think one of the richest organizations in the Catholic Church, they have money, they have gold, they have reserves. So yes, maybe some of you might want to start a church, an online church, I don't know. I had something about spiritual hour or gratitude hour, which was based on a spiritual foundation. Could be something you can think about. I don't have concrete solutions, but I can tell you the only thing I'm telling you, if it's one message that you hear from me, build cash reserves. If it means liquidating something using a lens of hindsight, saying, I bought that item out of vanity, I bought it to impress Peter Odoki or Irene Katende, I know it right now, dump it. And don't worry about the price, get the cash. Because if you bought a car, for example, think about it. Right now, every rich human being in Uganda wishes they had a pickup. Your Lexus 470, which cost you $200,000, is the same as somebody that guy who parks outside Mask on 6th Street with his small pickup. Your cars are exactly the same. Fact is better, just because you can move, you cannot. And you ask yourself, now everybody's ready to buy a pickup. Everybody's ready, because there will be a third wave. Because we'll open up in a month or two. The cycle is still going on until everybody gets vaccinated or something like that. If you go back to bubonic plague, you go back to Spanish flu, all those kind of diseases which plagued everybody, the cycle will happen again. By that time, please, financial prudence, sell your Lexus, buy a pickup. Sell that extra house. Don't worry about the price. If you have the cash, I told you 600 million shillings today is equal to 1 billion shillings. You will buy, if your house is what you like, you'll buy them in 3-4 months. You'll buy a bigger house at 700 million. Just throwing figures out there. If you're in the thrive phase, you're one of those guys who is making money because you're in the right industry which are winning. You are in IT, you are in health, you are in manufacturing, and you quickly move to PPEs. You are in, what other areas survived? Okay, oil and gas will come up, opportunities are coming up, oil and gas and so on. If you're one who is thriving, again, when you make money, just build a cash reserve. Because you're able to acquire assets, you're able to create wealth and sustain it and invest it, however lazy it might be, between treasury bills, in fixed deposits, and for FX, if that's your thing. In other markets, because now the world is open, you can invest in any country right now. All economies are looking for money. Everybody's looking for money. Some of the restrictions to invest in countries like in the UAE and so on and so forth are being lifted because everybody's looking for money now. If you have cash, my prudence in this environment is you become king. I have 2 minutes, so I'm going to close because I'm told there'll be questions and so on. So, I mean, I usually, one of my seniors and James Owen's colleague and my former board member, PK, keeps quoting some of these things. So I have got to just pay homage to him and quote 3 people. One is Alvin Toffler, who says, the illiterate of the 21st century aren't those who can't read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Right now, we have to unlearn many of the things we learned about finances and financial management and cash and things like that. We have to unlearn that to survive in today's environment. 2, today is my mother's birthday. So I'll go to quote Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou says, do better until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Do better until you know better. And when you know better, do better. That seems to be a credo which I believe Rotarians live by. Always trying to do better, to be beneficial. Lastly, let me quote Vusi Timbakwayo, his mother. who told him, and this is a credo I live by now, because in the era of financial prudence, where I must control my emotions, understand my ego, where I must have a good relationship with time, live in that era of kairos, deal with what's important now, which is mainly health, happiness, contentment, spiritual enlightenment. I don't think finances are the most important thing right now. It's important that you have a plan and you manage. But I think, as Busi's mom said, it is your life, run your race at your pace. That will manage your finances in that light. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anthony Chituka. It is always good to have you here at Daybreak, and as you know, this is always your home, so you're always welcome. The question of financial prudence is quite challenging to most of us, especially in our mind and in these days, really. So thank you so much for sharing some of the insights. I'm sure that you have triggered our thinking. So therefore, I know that friends on this call this morning, and I will not tire welcoming you all again for those that joined us along the way. Thank you so much. But for us to have a discussion, I would like to invite none other than our AG, Dr. James Onyuen. If you can, please do moderate the Q&A session, because I know that we have a lot to share in. We have some time on us to really share in, and thank you for sparing us ample time to delve in deeper and share a lot more our guest speaker. AG, Dr. James Onyuen, I turn this meeting to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, we can now go into the Q&A. Only that the president has ambushed me, so let me just go into the chat room and see if there are any questions. But you are free to put up your hand. If you can put up your hand, I will give you the first priority as we go towards the chat room. Okay. I don't see a hand yet, so
I saw a question from. I saw a hand from Adrian. I know Adrian at some point put his hand up.
Okay. Adrian, can you go ahead? Shoot your question.
I think the hand was in error, so
okay.
You can proceed.
Yes, we can proceed to the chat room. Let me see if I can pick any questions there.
I see a hand from I think CMP Constant. I think this is Mr. Mayende.
Mayende. Okay.
Yeah,
okay, Constant. Constant, go ahead and shoot your question.
Thank you so much, CMP President Kitakule. Thank you, AG Onyuen, and thank you, Anthony. Very nice seeing you. Very well composed this morning. And a very quick one. And when you are talking, I was like, okay, Anthony, sell this, build your reserves and of cash and so on. But I just wanted you to give a view. You see, during the tough times we are in right now, even when you put up something for sale, give an example of that Lexus. The chances are that the cash available for anyone else to buy is going to be a challenge. I mean, what would your comment be around that during these tough times that we are really going through? Thank you, Anton, again.
Okay. I'd seek guidance. Do I take all the questions or do I answer one at a time?
Okay, we could take more than one, but depending on whether there's another hand, let me see. Yeah, we have another hand. Nulu, you can go ahead. My friend from Muyenga.
Thank you very much, James. Mr. Chituka, at the start of the coronavirus, while people were clamoring for toilet paper, Warren Buffett advised people to buy shares. That was the time to buy shares instead of toilet paper. What do you have to say about this?
Okay. Just one more, maybe.
Thank you. Yes, one more question, if you can put up. Okay, there's Honorable Mike Kennedy, Rotarian Kennedy, DGE. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, moderator. Good morning, Anthony, and good morning.
Good morning, sir.
That was quite stimulating. Now you are encouraging us to get cash, which is good. But cash is at the best to be reinvested. Now, what do you reinvest in? Because you just can't keep it for keeps. It would degenerate. It won't make sense. But what are the possibilities of reinvestment that are available, given that there is a cycle of disruption across the economy? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Chituka, we can take two more. There's one from Peter. Fine. Take from Peter and then Ruth. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, moderator. Financial prudence by the talk by Anthony dwelt mainly on personal finance. Considering the season where we are under lockdown, what comment would you say about public finance regarding the way our country is managing COVID funds, because it impacts on personal finance as well, especially on the cost of.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe we can deal with those, then we shall go for Professor Augustus and Edward Mugerwa. Let's first deal with those, I think. Anthony?
Okay, thank you very much. Very good questions. I want to first of all congratulate Constant. You know, I call him Mr. Chairman now. He's a chairman of my past employer. Constant, congratulations on that. The question is, does it make sense to sell now? My answer is yes. Even what you think is a loss, because the value of cash, the value of cash or cash reserves. I made a statement: 600 million shillings is equal to 1 billion shillings. What am I meaning by that? You have your Lexus. It costs you $200,000. Right now, you're saying I can't sell it below even $150,000. Hell no. But think about the utility. I sell a Lexus at $150,000. I buy how many pickups at whatever figure it is. If you want a good, decent pickup, a double cabin Toyota Revo 2019, 2020 model costs you $50,000. Now, if you're the kind of person who has a Lexus and you say, I'm taking the hit now, because the value I'm going to get from what I reinvest in, I'm coming to a question by Rotarian Mike, is my logic is that you need cash because the loss of value in sale will be compensated by the gain of value in cash. And when you reinvest that cash, the 50,000 or the 100,000 you're reinvesting will give you a return bigger than the 20,000 you have sitting right now doing nothing. That is a logic. Take a hit now. Have a loss leader. Take a hit now. Question was, are there many buyers? Yes, there are buyers. I can tell you some people are thriving. I can tell you of a landlord who has put up 3 or 4 new malls during lockdown. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 malls. Each over, okay, total number of units, 2,000 units. Each mall has an average 500 units during lockdown. And he has just kept cash, and he still gave his tenants 6 months grace period. What did he do? The bank gave him a moratorium. Instead of paying the interest and paying the principal, he used the money. Whatever money he was getting, he used it to build. When lockdown ends, or when this thing happens, the cycle picks up again. He has put on top of, he's put another $1 million of rent flow in a year. What did he do? I have a landlord, another big landlord downtown who says, I have 6 buildings. I'm going to sell one. Reduce pressure of the loan. Okay, this one, and they're buyers. They're buyers. Because I said, you're in the survive mode or in the recovery mode. Some guys are in the thrive mode. And that is where it comes to. And that's, in fact, when I go, your questions are all related. Warren Buffett, I keep saying, Warren Buffett, there is money to be made when there's blood on the streets. Somebody is always making money. As a banker, I see it. I said there's some winning industries, there's some stressed industries. While schools are being shut, are suffering, and people can go, and it of course that has a knock-on effect on many things. Our people are buying the schools up. They want the land. They want to convert the schools into other facilities in the future. Somebody who's preparing for oil and gas says, I have a school in Luweero. It is struggling. It has everything I need. Let me buy it and make it a center for vocational training for oil and gas guys. Let me buy it now on the cheap with everything there. It has labs, it has dormitories, it has a football field, it has a swimming pool. All those schools you see every other weekend, because I've been at home on Sunday, there's a program called Emmy Baga. The biggest advertisers in the old days used to be schools. Every 5 minutes a school is advertising, and there's so many private schools. Now those guys are struggling. They have everything. Somebody who works for Lloyd's is saying it's a training center. The school has a loan, it is struggling to pay. I have cash. I am in Luweero, I am in Hoima. I have everything to build a technical or vocational, a TVEC, a technical vocational entrepreneurial center to teach guys how to work in the oil and gas industry. So Rotary and Mike, those are things you can start thinking about if you have cash, because I can tell you schools are going to be dropping like a problem. Like a problem, some schools won't come up ever again because of their structure, not about the money. It's their structure, teachers have left. Some teachers aren't going back to teaching, they're moved to other things. They're moved into providing food. They're moved into the agriculture industry or sector, sorry. Investing. Yes, agriculture, people talk about agriculture as not making money, but the smart guys know it makes money. That is Warren saying buy shares. There are no shares right now. Yes, if you have money, invest in, you have to take some risks to some extent, but invest in some stocks. Pick health stocks. There are companies which are looking for funding. I can give a company called Rocket Health. Rocket Health was some kid's idea of doing door-to-door medical deliveries. I was in KCB actually in 2010 or 11. It was a program called Inspire Africa. And a kid called Davis Musinguzi, I think, came up with the idea of door-to-door medical services. And he has been working on it, funding it. He's got several seeds of funding. He's now one of the authorized guys to deliver Covidex. He's a nationally authorized guy to deliver Covidex. That kid probably is about 35. He's going to be a billionaire. An idea he formed 10 years ago when everybody thought, what do you mean deliver medicine to me at my home? Bring a doctor to come and see me at my home. Disruption, somebody mentioned disruption. That's what it is. So the view that you can, again, the lens of intuition, the lens of foresight will determine what you do with the cash. But first you must have the cash. If you have no cash, it is survival mode. What's important now? Focus on just staying alive. But people in this call, I don't think are people who can't generate cash from assets that they have. The question about Peter's question about public finance and the link to personal financing. And yes, the biggest spender in any economy is the government, always. At least in African, even global economies. It's the US. The government spends on defense contracts, they spend on infrastructure, they spend on social services. So the biggest spender is always the government, the state. And the question, I'm not political, and the question becomes, how does that affect personal management? Again, we spend a lot of time listening to what the leaders are saying, where they want to spend the money, and you follow the money. The government has got $1 billion from World Bank or wherever it is, or IMF, to spend on COVID for now. That's what's important now.
With the share.
That's what's important now. Where is money going to be spent? Do I have cash as a private person to be where the government will buy? Because again, the disruption is you cannot bring goods in from China as easily, or Turkey as easily, or India as easily. So what can you do locally or within the region? What can I get from Kenya? What can I get from Tanzania? What can I get from South Sudan? What can I take to those places? We're building a road to DRC. Think about that. If the DRC joins the East African community, forget about oil and gas. Currently, all those minerals use the southern route. They go through Angola or go through Mozambique. That is the exit route for minerals from DRC, Eastern DRC. So when the government is spending money to build a road to enter DRC so that those minerals can come through Uganda to get to Mombasa and create a new value chain along the way, a new ecosystem along the way, that is public spending where you should be thinking about it. That is what we see. And that is, COVID has taught us that if we're going to be self-sufficient, communication is growing. All the things used for communication, everything used to make a phone in terms of the components is from a mineral in Africa. DRC almost to be exact. So if we are linking that chain, reducing dependence on exporting only to South Sudan and to Kenya where they burn our maize and so on and so forth, that is the lens of foresight. But with that, we must have cash. And you have cash. The cash is in those 3 phones you have. Sell one, you don't need 3 phones. The cash is in those 10 laptops you have. The cash is in those, is in the 5 cars which are packed in your compound right now, not going anywhere because you have no stickers. That's where the cash is. Right now, a car is zero use to you. The value is not 200,000 to 150. It is 0 to 150 because the car has no value to you right now. So about selling, generate cash, which will allow you to take advantage of opportunities in the future. Those were the 4 questions. I think I saw a question in the chat. Maybe let me just take it about cryptocurrency. What is my view on cryptocurrency? To be honest, the world is full of disruptions. I'll be honest, I don't answer it 100%, not just yet. Don't get cash to put in cryptocurrency. That is speculative at the moment. It's not important now because the value of cryptocurrency is it's not realized immediately. You must buy and sell, and that thing fluctuates like a yo-yo. It's like forex trading for me at the moment. A few other people have gotten and got burnt. It's not very structured. Some people claim they have made money, but those are, for every success story, you just know there are 10 million guys who have been burnt. Those are the guys who have made money are the ones making money off the blood on the streets. That means somebody's died somewhere. And cryptocurrency right now, I don't understand it enough to say I will invest in it as a bank, and even as a bank, as a group, we don't play with it right now. We're studying it, we're looking at it, but then the common ones, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, so on. One word from Elon Musk and the thing goes crazy. I mean, that is too volatile for me. If he has a brain fart somewhere and says Bitcoin is bad, from 40,000 it goes to 4,000. You can't sell. That's just my view on cryptocurrency for now. For now, if you're in the survival mode or in the recovery mode, I would advise you to avoid cryptocurrency. I think there are about 5 more minutes. I want to stop there. Any more questions?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. What we'll do, let me just pick some few questions from the chat, then we come back. There are some hands up as well. I'm sure I'm praying that the president allows me to cover this. The first question is, thank you, you have already covered the one of cryptocurrency. That is good, but there was one, most of the posts on the chat are really thanking you for these great insights. But there's a question here that, thank you, Anthony, for a wonderful talk. Quite a number of private hospitals are in the thrive phase. I think especially for intensive units, as people go through the survive and recovery phases. Question 1, how long will they keep thriving? Question 2, how do you think, this is from Chris Masete, how do you think they will drop to the survive mode at one time? So he's wondering whether hospitals will remain on the thrive mode or one day they will fall down. And then another question, I agree with you on primitive accumulation of wealth. I think that's quoted from Dr. James Mwangi. But do you think saving money in the banks adds much returns compared to someone preserving his or her land in 2 or 3 years' time? He's asking, is it okay to save money in the bank or should I put it in the land? And then another question, I think there was one more I saw down here. Thank you so much, presenter. This is from Ivan Mutaka, it's a daybreaker. It is a great pleasure to have you with us this morning. If I may ask, would it be right for me to dispose of my 2 acres of land in so that I can establish a clinic? The land is for accommodation of money in the long run, while the clinic is daily income, but with costs associated. The next one is, everybody is skeptical about the future. How many people are holding back? This is from Pius Nanyanga. Everybody is skeptical about the future. How many people are holding back? Isn't it a good time to invest in other financial instruments? I think, let me pick the last one from the chat. How do we as Rotarians balance financial prudence in these times and giving to the Rotary Foundation, as well as responding to the desperate survival needs of those around us? This is from President Kate Barasa from Sonde. How do we as Rotarians balance financial prudence in these times and giving to the Rotary Foundation, as well as responding to desperate survival needs of those around us? Okay. I think I'll first leave those in the chat room. And we ask, there are some physical hands up. My name is James Serugo. You can shoot your question before Professor Augustus.
Thank you, Dr. James. Anthony, nice to see you this morning. My question is, you are from the banking industry. How is your industry wisening up to the situation now? I can see they are more tight with the money. Are they making cash available? Are you making cash available?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's take the last one from Augustus, Professor Augustus Nwagaba from Muyenga.
Yeah, thank you very much, President, and thank you so much, Anthony, for the wonderful presentation. My question is the balancing of savings, which are very low, given Uganda to have a very low wage economy, and consumption, where most of the money, even before you are paid, either you are check or your profit is already consumed. So how do you save that extra penny you want to save, given very, very high consumption, so that you don't have anything left? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think, yeah, thank you very much, Professor Augustus. Can you give a go to those, Anthony?
Maybe
Okay.
before you come
Yes,
in,
yes.
Anthony, you did encourage us indeed to foresee the future in these tough times. So I foresee that we may not be able to end our fellowship in time. So friends on this call, I beg that you allow me to borrow not more than 15 minutes of your time to allow our guest speaker respond to our questions, and then we can come to a close our fellowship. So I take silence for a yes. Thank you very much in advance, and I turn it back to you, Anthony.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you very much for accommodating me. But actually, these questions are interesting, and when I see Professor Nwagawa and my colleague James asking questions, I first shake a bit, but let me try and begin with those ones. Question about savings versus investment. Yes, Professor, you're very right. I mean, people keep asking me about why a bank interest rates very high. It's because the cost of money is very high. That's a simple reason. People don't save in this country, or if they do, they save not in the bank. They save maybe on mobile phones or in the port somewhere or in a box somewhere. And your savings is very low, but we consume very high. And consumption maybe is driven by the nature of the history of the country. People live for today, subsistence, and all those different things. There are very many dynamics which are economic, which I'm not going into. But the question is, how do you start saving? And we have seen this happen across other countries. I'll use Kenya as an example. We made saving part of payment. For example, our study around SMEs, a regular butcher who gets 200,000 shillings every day goes to Lufula to buy meat. He sells it and makes a profit for, let's say, argument's sake, 30,000 shillings. Next day, he goes and buys 200,000, makes 30,000. He doesn't bank it, he keeps it. When his son breaks his leg at school, he will not only get the 30,000 he has been saving every month, every day, he will get the entire capital to fix his son's leg. He has not been saving on any sort of national health insurance scheme. He has not been saving on any form. His money is cash. When an emergency comes, all the cash, capital and profit is wiped out, and SME collapses therefore. So what did we do? We told him, boss, every day you get your 200,000. When you bank 230, take 200, bank 230. Of that 30,000, 1,000 we want you to retain in a separate account for your son. Another 1,000 shillings we want you to put on insurance. Okay, just two different accounts. Just that. Now, if it becomes something he does every day, that 1,000 doesn't even think about it going anywhere. It's a small figure to him. But after 30 days, he has 30,000 shillings. After a year, he has 360,000 shillings if he works every day. And he wouldn't even have felt the saving. So, Professor, our aim of trying to incentivize and make people to save everywhere, the whole idea of democratizing banking, making sure the bank isn't a place you go, but something you do. That's all the idea about equiducas and your shopkeeper being your bank. Where you go every day to buy your sugar, milk, cooking oil, that is where you bank. The bank, we've killed a psychological thing. So we're trying to encourage the savings. We do that, interest rates will come down. Consumption will always continue. But if you make saving part of the consumption, that is how you start saving. It's a really weird model, but it has worked to grow savings in other societies. It has worked in Bangladesh, it has worked in India, it's working in Kenya. We try to make it work here by making it now easier, go digital and so on and so forth. So that might help. It's a long process. We need lots of government policy and support. We need to be able to identify, we need access to NIRA so that you can do *247* ID number hash. And what comes back to you is a bank account. Hapo, there and then. Allow guys to start saving. Our challenge is the infrastructure. If you can make that happen, your savings culture goes up. By default, saving becomes the same way you look up to brush your teeth. It's 1,000 shillings, you don't feel it, but when after a period of time, you start seeing it. And from the savings, we now move to get that savings, to make more money, start investing. And there will be all these investment firms and advisors and so on to help build that. The other day, I think, Professor, you know, a company called BlackRock, which is probably the biggest investment firm in the world, have under management of $9.5 trillion. This is assets under management built from savings of teachers, doctors, policemen, unions, also some cooperatives, individuals, corporate companies, etc. That's why the cost of money out there is very cheap, because the service savings are so high. So, Professor, that's where we're going to start. Small amounts. You don't feel it until it accumulates with more people doing so. Moving to James's question.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you, sir. James, your question was about wisening up. What are banks doing? Are we lending? Yes, we're lending to guys who are in the winning categories. Those who are thriving, those who are recovering, we're lending to them. Why? They have shown, or they have demonstrated resilience. They have demonstrated a clear foresight in terms of where, and by the way, if anything, we're lending, how do I put it? We're lending to sectors which we see are thriving because they saw an they planned a bit earlier. The opportunities to some extent, of course, IT and so on wasn't a big plan, but now heavy investment in IT, heavy investment in health and Medicare. Those people need money. And to keep those wheels turning, the banks will lend money, because now banks have this excess cash. We're not lending very much to construction. We're not lending very much to hotels or to schools. That money must be lent somewhere. Either lend to the government in treasury bills and bonds, or lend it to those sectors. So those people have good lending at good pricing, because in this case, supply is outstripping demand. And that's about having the lens of foresight and intuition. Also, of course, banks have gone digital heavily to make sure lending is now online. You don't have to come to the bank to lend, to borrow. In our bank, for example, 30 million shillings, you don't need to be in the bank. We can lend it to you. If a bank with us for 6 months, we see your cash flows, we give you a limit. We send you an SMS or a message. You qualify for X amount of money. Do you want it? Yes, no, yes. Click a button, yes, it's on your account or on your mobile phone. So banks are lending. They are cautious about it, but they are lending. There are some people that are not lending to, for sure. If you're a school right now, you will get money from a bank. If you're a bar right now, no, you might get money from a bank. If you're a church right now, you might struggle to get money from a bank. So that is what they're doing. Of course, the banks, what is important now? That is what we're dealing with. Question was asked about, do you put money in savings in an account or a bank, or put it in land? I said buying land is called land banking, as in you put the money into the ground and hope that the money will add value, to have value in two ways. One, if you build a property on it, the money comes back to you in small doses, that is land banking. Or if the value of the land goes up and you sell, like get a capital gain, that is again trying to make your money earn money. It's pretty much the same question of returns. In Uganda, from what I understand, based on location, where you are, the right place, the right time, you will make money. Buy land in the wrong place, you will lose money. Buy land in a wetland, buy land on a road reserve, and land, and anyway, right, land procedures here are a bit complicated. Use a lawyer, please. Use an escrow account, please. I keep telling people, don't buy land cash. Please have them open an escrow account so that upon completion of particular things, that's when money changes hands. Otherwise, and that's the way everybody does it everywhere else in the world. An escrow account is opened, you put in the money to show you're serious. That the guy who owns the land says, upon receipt of the land title, will transfer value and ownership, and everybody is safe. If you fail to transfer the property, you don't lose your money. But those are something you have to think about in investing in land. But by and large, it's a decent investment in Uganda if it's in the right place or right time. The returns are probably better than in the bank. How that is for savings. But again, think about it. If you build a property, the returns I see in land is anywhere between 8 per annum, 8 to 12%. If you invest in a property now and you pay it off over the next 15 years or 12 years, your annual interest will be about 8%. So if you have an investment vehicle in a bank, a treasury bill, a fixed deposit above 8 or 10%, I put it in the fixed deposit for now. It's about what's important now. Question about hospitals. Hospitals, will they thrive? Right now, hospitals are a difficult business. The truth Hospitals depends on specialty and so on. And right now, as you can see, ICUs, it's a matter of supply and demand. Supply for ICUs is outstripped by demand, so the pricing goes crazy. The moment ICU demand goes down, pricing goes down. So I can tell you, all hospitals must be cashing in. Of course, there are costs involved, to be honest. I mean, it's very difficult and expensive to maintain an ICU. The skill sets required, the equipment required, the consumables are all recyclable ones. Everything is complicated. So there are costs for that. However, demand outstrips supply, and the business thinkers in the hospital will make money off it. So yes, right now they're thriving. But just like at some point in the first wave, ICUs were full, then they became empty. Then they got full again. But if you follow the president's advice and more ICUs come, the level of the crest will be a bit lower, because now there'll be more supply over ICUs and things like that. So it's a cycle, like every other business. Think about it like vanilla business. Vanilla business, if Madagascar has a storm, your price of vanilla goes up. When Madagascar produces bumper harvest, your pricing comes down. So yes, hospitals will go through that cycle as well, weirdly, as a service. Somebody asked about clinics or land. I sell my 2 acre pieces of land, put in a clinic. Again, I go back to Kairos. Is it the right time, or is the right time now? You might be in a clinic today and people get vaccinated, and suddenly demand for your clinic is not as high as you think it is. Unless you have a specialty which nobody has. So again, it's a matter of what is important right now. Is it the clinic? Is it the land? If I have 2 acres of land right now, I don't think you would sell that to a point where you can set up a clinic. However, if you can do it quickly, while demand is still hot, build a clinic in about 6 to 8 months, because this cycle will be over in the next 18 months. This thing will be done. It will be done. Vaccinations will have improved. You'll be like now countries like the US. It will be now like a flu. It will be like yellow fever. People will have found a way to live with it, and the world will have found a way to adjust to it. And then the question becomes, is your clinic going to be viable? That's my view. So clinic or land, I can't say yes or no. It's about timing. What's important now? Somebody asked, are people holding back? Yes. Are people investing, or should they stop holding back and take a risk? Again, depends on the industry, depends on sector. If you have cash and you see a window, take it. If you have a place to build cash, take it. So if I talk about selling, but if you have a business, if you have agriculture and you have food, is always up and down. Right now, food might be up because of supply issues. But again, think about what's going to happen with oil and gas, because right now we're so obsessed about COVID because of our impact it's having right now as a health pandemic. From health pandemic, it evolves into an economic crisis. Economic crisis will evolve into a social crisis. Now, if you're in those different levels, where health, we're getting out of that one. Economic, we're struggling now. As you can see, shops are closed, people aren't earning, economic growth, this is Professor's area. GDP is slower than it was expected, and so on. So that's the economic one. The bigger problem will be the social one. Where if it stays for so long, somebody said the rich will have nothing else to eat, but the poor will have nothing else to eat but the rich. There you start having riots for food and so on and so forth. People start climbing your walls in Muyenga and in Kololo, attacking palaces to get food. This is a fresh revolution problem kind of thing. So you have to manage where we're in that stage and say, what's the opportunity? If I have cash, how do I manage that? Because that leads to the last question about financial prudence and giving. I have a principle, up or down. If it is your principle to give 10% as tithe, and that's a habit. 10% of $1 billion, 10% of 100,000, 10% of 10, 10% of 50, you have stayed in your lane. Continue giving that 10. If it has dropped, give a 10%. If it's tithe, so be it. If you say I give 5% of my earnings to Rotary, that is it. If the earnings have gone up, you give 5. If they come down, you give 5%. That's how I would balance it, because it's a principle. In doing that, you are actually fulfilling all the elements of a 4-way test. because you're being fair. It's the truth. You could have more money, but you kept the 5%. That was your plan, 5%. So that is, and again, going back to just how much can you have or how much you need to survive. If you have more, you give more. If it reduces at that window, in that season, you'll give less. But when you come out of this cycle, you go back to what you're giving, probably even more as you thrive. So to survive, yes, I know it's sometimes very difficult. I agree. It is hard to say, hey, I've been giving this 200,000 every month. That is a 5%, whatever figure it is. But now I have a problem, but it's a principle. Because you learned to live without that 5% from the time you joined Rotary. That should not change because of a pandemic, because there'll be other crises in your life. So that's a principle I use actually. I mean, if my giving is a percentage up, down of income, doesn't matter. And that's what I would advise everybody to do. Mr. President, I think it is 8:13. I believe you get 15 minutes, but I'm sure you want to do some closing procedures. So allow me to stop there. And thank you very much for the questions. Thank you for entertaining my rant. There was no plan here, but I hope it has been helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Before I take it back to the president, I want to just tell people that put your questions in the chat. I'll make sure that I send them to Anthony. We'll record them live and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Also, I see people putting emails. We shall not be emailing the presentations. On the invitation which you got for this event, there is a YouTube channel. You'll just go to the YouTube channel and listen to today's proceeding. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That is how doctors wind up their sessions. And thank you so much, Anthony Chituka. I saw in the chat section that you are able to move some of us from a state of quagmire. And I think to put that into perspective, I will invite you, our immediate past president, Opportunity President Jameson Karimani, to move a vote of thanks to our beloved guest speaker. Over to you, Karimani.
Thank you very much, President Frederick, for this opportunity. On behalf of Kampala Daybreak and on behalf of the Rotarians and guests who have been on call this morning, I would like to sound a word of thanks to our presenter this morning, Mr. Anthony Chituka. We want to appreciate you so much for an insightful presentation, which has opened our eyes to know that every time you wake up, you start by spending. You put on the lights and you are spending. One other thing I've picked is that we have so many things packed at home, like vehicles now, which are generating anything, but we are stuck to them. I have also come to learn that essential workers do drive small cars. If you go on the road, you will not find those big cars on the road. Those cars are parked at home, many of them. So like you have advised, why don't we think otherwise? We want to appreciate you so much. If we had the powers, I would have conferred upon you a honorary degree in financial prudence this morning. But all the same, allow us to give you what we can afford. We have presented to you a certificate of appreciation, which reads that the certificate is proudly presented to Mr. Chituka Anthony in appreciation and recognition for sharing your knowledge and experience during financial prudence in today's environment. The club appreciates you so much, and the members who have been on call this morning are very appreciative. I hope whatever you have given to us will help us to sail through the remaining time of this pandemic. I want to thank you very much this morning, and I wish you good health and blessings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And indeed, it's been a great joy and great honor to host you, Mr. Chituka Anthony. I now welcome you, Rotarian Irene, to quickly and precisely give us the roll call of clubs and our statistics today.
Thank you so much, President. Good morning, all members on this call. I'll quickly take you through the statistics. This morning, we are blessed with 218 participants. 49 visiting clubs, and 3 Rotaract clubs. The clubs were RC Chwatule, Kampala Central, Kampala Morning Stars, RC Myenga, Rubaga Lakeview, RC Sonde, RC Natete, Kampala Alibad, RC Bukoto, RC Kampala, RC Nsanji, Kampala South, RC Zambia, RC Ntinda, RC Entebbe, RC Sunrise, Lake Victoria, RC Buloba, RC Chengera, RC Chitante, Kampala Springs, RC Kololo, RC Makindye, Sese Island, E-Club of Uganda Global, Bweyogere Nambole, RC Mbale, RC Kila, RC Maisha, RC Buroba, Kampala Springs, RC Nansana, RC Kasangati, RC Hoima, RC Wobulenzi, RC Chitante, Arua Eco City, Port Bell, Kampala Wandegea, RC Kabarore, RC Chiwenda, Muyenga Breeze, RC Hoima, RC Mitiana, RC Bulindo, Dar es Salaam, Kampala North. The club of the day is Dar es Salaam based on distance. And if I have not picked up your club, kindly you can note it in the chat room. I'll pick it up from there. And to our guest speaker, Anthony, thank you so much for that informative talk and making us proud we at Kampala Daybreak. Over to you, President.
Wow. To you, our 218 friends that have joined us this morning, a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Friends, allow me take special recognition and appreciation of our DGEs, DGE Honorable Mike Sebaru. Thank you so much for always being with us. DGE Francisco Semwanga, you are with us all the way from 6:30 till now. Thank you so very much. I want to also recognize and appreciate all the past district governors led by our own Governor FX Sentam Salongo. Thank you so much for joining in. But I also want in a special way to recognize the DRRE. Sarah Owembabazi, if I were in those days, I would say Owa Wax, but thank you so much. And to you, our past and present Rotary leaders, we are so honored and grateful that you joined us this morning. So I appreciate you, all the past assistant governors, the changemaker assistant governors. And I can never forget my friends and my colleagues, the changemaker presidents. Wow. Seeing over 20 changemaker presidents with us this morning gives us great joy and comfort that we're indeed a family of changemaker presidents. Thank you so much. But allow me also take special recognition and appreciation of our own Honorable Frederick Rihindi. Honorable Frederick Rihindi is a member of the Rotary Club of Kampala Daybreak. Thank you so much for making time to be with us this morning. I thank you so very much for this wonderful fellowship that we have had. And to crown it up all, I want to request you, Changemaker President Constant, if you can please unmute and give us a final toast.
Thank you so much, my friend, Changemaker President Frederick. I hope you are able to hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear and also smell your perfume.
Thank you very much, and for this opportunity and for the very wonderful fellowship that we've enjoyed at Kampala Daybreak and that we continue to enjoy. We've been enjoying, we continue to enjoy. And for the very good and insightful presentation by my own friend, Anthony Chituka. May we toast to Rotary International.
Rotary
the world over.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you, friends, and make you a blessing. we officially open the Kimeza. I know that Anthony is still with you for a couple of 1 or 2 minutes. For those that would like to continue the discussion, you are very, very welcome. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, President.
God bless. Have a good day all.
You're very welcome.
Anthony, that was good. That was excellent. Thank you so much, my brother.
Hey,